Let's talk about problems in the art world. Because as an artist, there are some problems that are often difficult to get beyond. So, problem number one is ghosting, unanswered letters. You write to a gallery, you write to a curator, you send someone your website, and then nothing, silence, right? This is a very difficult situation, and it's a difficult situation because it's a personal situation. You send somebody your art, you send somebody your writing, you ask someone for something, and then silence? All we can do with that silence is project our fears on it, right? Like, they don't like my work. They don't like me. They don't like me pestering them. They don't like being asked the things that I'm asking them. All we can do is imagine what they want, right? Or what they're thinking. Similar if we're dating somebody or about to date somebody and we suddenly get ghosted. What does that mean? They don't like us anymore? Perhaps, but usually it means something else. Usually there's another reason. So, dating analogy aside, when you send someone an email, let's say it's a gallery, and you're asking them to look at your work and they don't respond, there could be many reasons they're not responding. Probably the least of it is that they didn't like your work or they're not interested. And the reason I know that is because I've done this for a long time. I've worked with many artists who have done this, and often, right when you think someone's really, um, not interested in you, and you're convinced of this, and all your fears come out, but also your strengths come out to pursue it. You may find that there's something else going on there, and in like 99.9% of cases, what I found is it's always something else. And the something else may be the person you're writing to is having a personal crisis. They're overwhelmed. There's a death in the family. There's a wedding in the family. They just had a job change. I mean, we all have these personal struggles, these personal lives that have battles we're working on every day, right? And some of them are more major battles with money and health. Some of them are about mental health. Some of them are about the relationship that someone may be in. These are battles we're all fighting. So when you send someone a letter and they don't answer, we really don't know why. So my feeling is always assume that there's some crisis going on. Assume something's happening. One example that I'll give you is I was writing to a curator, and then I called her up and I said, it was someone that I knew. And I said, "Hi, this is Brainerd. I just wanted to talk to you about a project that I'm doing." And she said, "Sure, I've been thinking about you. Tell me about it." And this is a major curator at a major museum, the Guggenheim. And so I said, "Okay, my wife and I want to do this project, and we'd like to do something at the Bilbao Guggenheim. I was wondering if you know some curators there I can reach out to." And she said, "Oh, sure, that would be Marta and this other woman." And I said, "Okay, I can just write to them then." And she said, "No, wait till I'll write to them, and then I'll tell you and you can write to them." I said, "Okay, that sounds good." So then I waited, and a week goes by, nothing. So I write to her and I say, "Hi, I'm just writing to see if you've heard from the curators you were writing to because I'd like to follow up with them." Nothing, silence. So I give her a call. I have her phone. Again, message, voicemail. I say in the voicemail, "Hi, it's Brainerd. I'm following up on our conversation. I sent an email just wondering if you talked to those curators." Nothing. The next week I send a letter again. This is professional follow-up. It's being polite and not pushy or aggressive. And I say again, "Dear Tracy, I'm writing to follow up on our conversation about the curators that you were kind enough to tell me a little bit about and that you wanted to talk to them first." Nothing, no response. I call again the next week. This is the professional way to do it without being a pest. You write, you call. You write, you call. And then every time you call, you say, "I'm trying to reach you. I'll follow up with an email." In the emails, I said, "I'll follow up with a call." This started in June. So I was doing this every week to June, July, and August. Now, by the time we're getting to September, I'm starting to think, like anyone who gets ghosted, I must have offended her. She must be upset with me. I must be pestering her. I'm probably driving her crazy. I wonder why she doesn't like me. So, okay, my emails, when I start really getting paranoid about something like that, um, change because I really want a response. My rule is don't let yourself be ghosted. Get a response. If someone doesn't want to date you or see you, they can say that to your face. They can say that through a text. They can say that on the phone. But we all deserve an answer. It's only human. It's only polite. It's reasonable. So I wrote her one more letter, and in the subject I said, "I'm concerned." And I said, "I'm writing. I just haven't heard from you in a while, and I'm concerned. And I've also made a number of calls." I get a letter back almost right away after sending that, the "I'm concerned" subject. And she says, "Brainerd, I'm so sorry. I've been working on a catalog. I've isolated myself. I try not to answer any phone calls or almost any emails unless I have to because I'm on a deadline and I really have to get this catalog done. I just finished the first draft, so I'm happy to be able to respond to you. I'll call Marta today and I'll get back to you tomorrow." Okay, she did get back to me the next day. Now, a couple of things happened there. The problem I was having is this is a lot of emails I've sent her. I've already called her about 15 times and sent about 15 emails, right? And like anyone, I project my worst fears on that situation because it seems like she really isn't interested in me or my work. In fact, she's telling me so by not answering any of my calls or letters. But actually, that wasn't the case. I could have dropped it much sooner. It would have seemed reasonable to drop it sooner, right? But I didn't drop it sooner. And that's where managing the problem of ghosting comes in. Since we don't know what's going on in other people's private lives, and she wasn't having a big crisis, a mental, physical, death in the family, wedding. She was under enormous amount of pressure from the institution she works for to meet a deadline, and she was trying to basically block out everything. It's like everybody has kind of fires in their lives they're trying to put out. The fire she was trying to put out was this deadline. And so everything else became minor to her. Everything else was something she could handle at a later date because this was a priority. Keeping her job was the priority, and making the money she needed to make was a priority. But it didn't mean that what she initially said to me wasn't important. And so that's one way to get through that problem. I can't tell you enough. I could tell you many more cases of this, and without Guggenheim Curators, I could tell you how this worked even locally. I was trying to in New Haven, Connecticut. I was trying to give a free talk for my book. A book had come out, a recent book, Making It in the Art World, and I went to the library and I said, "Who's in charge of public events here?" "Oh, Carol so-and-so is." I said, "Great, can I talk to her?" "No, you can email her. You have to email her." "Okay, this is remember, public free library." I go home, I email her. Nothing. "I'd like to give a free talk about my book. There's a lot of artists in New Haven," right? Hear nothing. I call, leave a message. Nothing. I write again, same process. You call, you write, you call, you write. And at every email, you say, "I'll follow this up with a call." In every phone call, if you leave a message, say, "I will follow this up with an email." That way you always stay in power. It's never like, "Let me know if it's available," because then the silence turns into the kind of death of the situation, right? So what I did was I did the same thing with Tracy, called back, called back, called back. It was endless. Finally, I got her on the phone. I said, "Hello, Carol," because she answered the phone. I said, "This is Brainerd Carey. I'm calling to ask about doing a free talk there." "Oh, yeah, you sent me something about that, right?" I said, "Yes, I did." I didn't tell her. I sent you 20 emails about that. She said, "Okay, could you send me the email again?" I said, "Sure." I sent her the email again, and then that moment, and then I called her up half an hour later. I said, "Did you get the email?" She said, "Oh yes, I got the email." "Great, glad you called. Now let's schedule something." Just like that. I said, "What's happening over there, Carol? Are you very busy? Is there a big schedule?" She said, "Well, no, it's not that there's a big schedule. It's that we've had a decrease in staff, and because of the decrease in staff, I'm doing now kind of the equivalent of 2 or even 3 jobs here. So half the time I don't know what's happening, but these are the kind of things I want to book. So done. It was in, right? It would have been easy for me to say there too. Like what's I guess the New Haven Free Library doesn't want something from me. You know, maybe they're not interested, but that wasn't the case. She was overworked and she couldn't get to her emails. That's reasonable. That's very reasonable, right? So again, when getting over this problem in the art world of ghosting, of people not writing back, keep following up, because what following up does is not only get you an answer, it alleviates some fears, because the fear that comes, our own fear, when people don't answer emails, it kind of eats away at you. You start thinking there's something wrong with me. I'm doing something wrong that I don't know is wrong. And that's a kind of a paranoia. It's also a humiliation. And the way to get over that paranoia and that humiliation is to keep persisting until you get a yes or a no. Because if you do it politely without being aggressive, you will get a yes or a no, likely. And I just gave you 2 pretty extreme circumstances. One was with a major curator. One was with an employee at a local library, a local free library. It doesn't matter how high they are in their organization or how impressive the organization is or prestigious. This is how people are. Many of us are overworked, and the gallerists and the curators you're trying to reach are probably very overworked. So, so this one problem, this kind of ghosting problem in the art world, is something that is easy to get over through the process that I'm telling you. I'm going to talk about more problems in the art world, because there aren't just one of ghosting. There's also one of wondering, like, where do I go next? You know, what's the next step for me? Or, you know, how do I make more sales, right? That's one of the big problems. I'm going to make a video next week, and we'll be talking about more problems in the art world. I hope this was helpful, and I wish you well.